Hey, friends. Welcome back to the Divorce Clarity Studio Jewish Wisdom Edition. I'm Lisa Lisser, CEO and founder of LZL Coaching, a boutique coaching firm focused on divorce, relationships, and life transitions. My work blends divorce coaching and Jewish spiritual wisdom to be your guide on the side on your divorce journey. Today, I want to begin with a confession. I love answers. Maybe you do too. When something feels uncertain, I want information. I want a plan. I want a roadmap. I want to know what comes next. And if you are navigating divorce, chances are you've been searching for answers too. And yet, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you already know something I've learned both personally and professionally. Life's biggest transitions can't be solved in a minute. Transitions take time. They can only be lived in forward motion. So let's get moving. Divorce has a way of narrowing our vision. You may feel like you're navigating a dark tunnel and there's no end in sight, just the tunnel squeezing until you feel like you can't breathe. When we're in the midst of a life transition, our attention becomes consumed by decisions, deadlines, legal documents, finances, parenting schedules, difficult conversations, and all the unknowns that lie ahead. We spend so much time trying to figure out what's next, trying to find certainty in our strategy, that we often lose sight of what's right in front of us. And in that narrowing, something precious can quietly disappear. And that's wonder. I know it sounds counterintuitive. How do I cultivate wonder in a moment when it feels like my life is falling apart? Today, we're going to dig into that as we explore a teaching from Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, 20th century Jewish theologian, Holocaust survivor, and social justice warrior. Heschel's foundational theory centers on the concept of radical amazement as the posture that a person must maintain throughout their life. So Heschel writes, our goal should be to live life in radical amazement. Get up in the morning and look at the world in a way that takes nothing for granted. Everything is phenomenal. Everything is incredible. Never treat life casually. To be spiritual is to be amazed. But nothing feels amazing when you're mired in the fear and uncertainty of divorce. In divorce, you seek answers. You want clarity when you have fog. Finding radical amazement may feel like a far-off plan. But Heschel doesn't ignore this reality. He acknowledges that the state of humankind today requires something different. He says, as civilization advances, the sense of wonder declines. Mankind will not perish for want of information, but only for want of appreciation. The beginning of our happiness lies in the understanding that life without wonder is not worth living. What we lack is not a will to believe, but a will to wonder. So let's read that again. Mankind will not perish for want of information, but only for want of appreciation. I find myself returning to this quote again and again, especially when I work with people navigating divorce. Think about this. Information is everywhere. We can Google anything. We can read articles. We can listen to podcasts. We can ask friends, scroll social media, and consume endless advice. Information isn't the problem. The problem is that information without direction can lead us astray. Information alone doesn't help us reconnect with ourselves. It doesn't help us heal. And certainly, it doesn't help us imagine a future we cannot yet see. Heschel suggests that what we're missing isn't more answers. It's more questions. It's wonder. In the vocabulary of this moment, I think wonder has a close companion, curiosity. If wonder is the experience of standing in awe before life, curiosity is the willingness to step toward it. Wonder asks, isn't that remarkable? Curiosity asks, I wonder what's possible here. Wonder opens the door. Curiosity helps us walk through it. The challenge is that divorce tends to activate a very different set of questions. Instead of curiosity, we become trapped in needing certainty. Not that we have certainty, but that we want it. We want answers to the questions. Why did this happen? Who's to blame? What if I fail? What if I never recover? What if I missed my chance? These questions often keep us circling in the same fears because information alone doesn't heal us. Information alone doesn't help us stand in the uncertainty, but wonder does. Or perhaps more accurately, curiosity does. And I've been thinking about curiosity as the companion to wonder. If wonder is the experience of recognizing that there is more here than I can fully grasp, curiosity is the willingness to explore it. Wonder says, look how much I don't know. Curiosity says, I wonder what I can learn. And that sounds beautiful in theory, until you're getting divorced, because standing in the questions of divorce is terrifying. Let's just tell the truth. It's scary. Your family structure is changing. Your finances may be changing. Your identity is changing. You don't know what lies ahead, and the future may feel impossible to predict. Of course you're scared. Why wouldn't you be? Fear says, I don't know what's coming. Curiosity responds, neither do I, but I need to go forward. For me, that shift changes everything because suddenly the goal is not to become fearless. The goal is to become willing to ask questions, willing to learn, willing to discover, willing to be surprised. And that brings me to another one of my favorite teachings from the 2,000-year-old Jewish text, Pirkei Avot. Who is wise? One who learns from every person. Every conversation we have presents us with an opportunity to learn something new. And I share this teaching all the time because it shapes the way I move in the world. This is not to say I never get scared or angry or frustrated. Believe me, I can get in the soup just as easily as the next person. But what I try to do differently now is notice when I'm in the middle of those feelings so I can pause, so I can step back. I can go to the balcony and try to understand not only where the fears are coming from, but what's next. And then I remind myself, the wise person is not the one who has all the answers. The wise person is the one who remains open to learning. The opposite of wisdom isn't ignorance. The opposite of wisdom is certainty. Now, again, that might sound like a soundbite, but roll it around in your head for a few moments. The opposite of wisdom is certainty, the belief that I already know. For me, during divorce, I couldn't express my curiosity because I thought that I was supposed to know. I was certain I was supposed to know things I didn't know, and I couldn't ask because I thought I would look foolish. I felt shame. And when shame rears its head, you feel like there's nothing left to learn, that my story has already been written. But if I were wise, the wise person remains curious, even in uncertainty. And yet, uncertainty in divorce is where fear lives. Often we have to overcome fear in order to ask the questions. Yet one of the mistakes I think we make during all of life dramatic transitions, like divorce, is acting as though fear means we're doing something wrong. I don't believe that. Certainty's companion is fear, but curiosity invites a different conversation. Curiosity asks questions. What do I value? What are my strengths? When have I had to stand up in the face of a challenge? And what strengths have helped me survive difficult seasons before? Who am I becoming? Curiosity doesn't require optimism. It doesn't require certainty. It simply requires openness. And it requires the ability to pause. Wonder may be the spiritual response to uncertainty. And there's something really fascinating here when we look at the neuroscience. When we're threatened, the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, goes on high alert. Its job is protection. It scans for danger. It narrows focus. It wants answers now. But curiosity activates a different pathway. Curiosity invites the prefrontal cortex back online. It creates space for reflection, creativity, problem solving, and possibility. In other words, curiosity helps us move from survival mode toward growth mode, from fight, flight, freeze, or fawn to the pause, where we can ask, what do I want? And how can I achieve it? The divorce may not be your choice, but curiosity is. And how you show up can be your curiosity. Curiosity is a way we remind ourselves that we are more than the crisis we're experiencing. My divorce doesn't mean I'm a failure. It doesn't mean I'm not worth love. And yet, though we know intellectually that may be true, something inside us, maybe society's messaging, prevents us from appreciating the distance from the fear to the wonder. And what strikes me is that fear and wonder are both responses to the unknown. Fear says, I need to know. Wonder says, I'm willing to discover. The circumstances haven't changed. The uncertainty is still here. What changes is our posture toward it, our perspective. And that's where the neuroscience framework becomes the most powerful. The amygdala hates uncertainty. It experiences uncertainty as danger. So when divorce arrives, the brain starts demanding guarantees. Will I be okay financially? Will my kids be okay? Will I ever love again? Did I make the right decision? What happens next? But the brain believes certainty will create safety. But certainty is not always available. And when certainty isn't possible, we have two choices. We can stay trapped in the search for answers that don't yet exist, or we can cultivate curiosity. Curiosity doesn't eliminate uncertainty, but it teaches us how to live inside it. So how do we cultivate wonder during divorce when life feels so very heavy? I'd like to offer 3 simple practices. And these are exercises, not solutions, opportunities, not answers. The first practice, replace judgment with curiosity. When you hear yourself saying, I know exactly how this is going to turn out, pause. Try replacing the statement with, I wonder what else might be true. That single question creates room for possibility. And the second is a noticing practice. Maybe at the end of each day, ask yourself, what surprised me today? It doesn't have to be profound. Maybe someone held a door. Maybe your child said something insightful. Maybe you laughed unexpectedly. Or maybe you handled a difficult conversation better than you would have 6 months ago. Wonder often begins with noticing. And the third is reconnecting with awe. Go outside, change your location, move from the physical space that is feeding your constriction to someplace else. Changing your location changes your perspective. And that's what curiosity is all about. You know, there's a story about an elephant. Two people are blindfolded, and one is directed to put their hand on the elephant's leg. The other puts their hand on the elephant's trunk. They are feeling the same animal, but they're in different locations and have different perspectives, and they feel something different. This is a way to understand what shifting your mindset can be. Instead of focusing on what's wrong, lead with the mindset shift. And you start that by going outside and looking around. So often we walk through life, we're tied to our devices, we have our thoughts running on repeat. But when we go outside and look up, we look outside ourselves. You may have walked the same path every day, but you never actually saw it because we don't really look at our surroundings. So I challenge you, look up, look out, appreciate your surroundings, find the awe, the radical amazement. Watch a sunrise. Go outside after the rain and find the rainbow, the sign. Give yourself permission to encounter something larger than the immediate problem you're trying to solve. Because wonder reminds us that our lives are bigger than our current circumstances. And perhaps that's Heschel's deepest teaching. Life is not merely a problem to solve. Life is a mystery to encounter. Divorce asks us many practical questions. How will we divide assets? What happens with the kids? Where will I live? How will I move forward? These are important questions. But alongside them lives another question, a soul question. How can I remain open to wonder even here? How can I stay curious about who I am becoming? Can I trust that there may be meaning unfolding before I can fully understand it? I recently saw a Jewish affirmation. I trust in the timing of my life. That's big. I trust in the timing of my life. I think that's where the healing begins. Not when we have all the answers, but when we become willing to explore the questions. As Heschel reminds us, what we lack is not a will to believe, it's a will to wonder. May you find moments of wonder this week. May curiosity guide you when certainty feels impossible. And may you discover that even in life's most challenging transitions, there is still beauty waiting to be noticed. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you think there's someone in your life who could benefit from this episode, please like and share it with them. If you learned one small skill that can help you navigate this narrow space you're in, please follow for more Divorce Clarity Studio. You can reach out to me directly through my website, www.lzlcoaching.com, and book a complimentary divorce clarity consult. And you can always follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, stay curious, and keep moving toward clarity, one small step at a time. Bye-bye.